So now let's talk about prompt engineering. So what is prompt engineering? Well, say we have a naive prompt, for example, summarize what is AWS, and we submit this prompt to our LLM. So this prompt is okay. We're going to get an answer from an LLM, but is it the answer we really want? So prompting, this type of prompt will give little guidance and leaves a lot to the model's interpretation. So we can do prompt engineering. That means we're going to develop, design, and optimize these kind of prompts to make sure that the foundation model output will fit our needs. So to have an improved prompted technique, we have 4 blocks. The first one is the instructions. So what is the task for the model to do? For example, we're going to describe how the model should perform the task. Then context, what is external information to guide the model? Then we have input data. So what is the data for which we want a response? And finally, an output indicator. What is the type or the format of the output that we want? And all these things together is going to give us a much better prompt and a much better answer. So here is a concrete example where we are going to improve our naive prompt. So here I'm going to provide instructions. And instead of knowing what AWS is, we want to write a concise summary that captures the main points of an article about learning AWS. And we need to ensure that the summary is clear and informative, focusing on key services, and you can read the rest, and so on. So this is some very detailed instructions because we're very clear about what we want. Then we have some context. So I am actually teaching a beginner's course on AWS, and so therefore, the model will respond in a way that it can be understood by beginners. Then we can give some input data. So here is some input data about AWS, and this is what I want the foundation model to summarize. And finally, the output indicator. So I want the FM to provide a 2-3 sentence summary that will capture the essence of the article. So here, this is great because I'm very clear. I have provided very clear instructions, good context, input data, and an output indicator. And so therefore, when I will use it on my LLM, then I will get the expected output, which are 2 to 3 sentences, which summarize what is AWS based on this article from a beginner's context. So hopefully that makes sense. And this is something that AWS wants you to know. Next, we have the technique called negative prompting. So this is a technique where we explicitly instruct the model on what not to include or to do in its response. So when you have negative prompting, it helps to avoid unwanted content. So we specify explicitly what we don't want, and therefore we reduce the chances of irrelevant or inappropriate content. And we maintain the focus. We make sure that the prompt and the model will stay on the topic. Then we have enhanced clarity because, well, for example, we can say don't use complex terminology or don't use detailed data, so we can make the output clearer, and so on. So let's have a look at this enhanced prompting from before, but now we're going to add on negative prompting. So now the instructions are going to be exactly the same, but instead I'm going to say avoid discussing technical configurations, specific AWS tutorials, or personal learning experiences. The context will stay the same, the input data will stay the same, and for the output indicator, I'm going to say do not include technical terms, in-depth data analysis, or speculation. And so I'm not going to show you what the output of this is because there's no point, but as you can see, by adding negative prompting, we are even more clear about what we want and what we don't want in an output from an LLM. So that's it for this lecture on prompt engineering. I suggest that you try a little bit on your own to see what you can and cannot get out of this technique. And I hope you liked it. I will see you in the next lecture.